We are a river city, a bold city, the First Coast, a place to create and to belong. Here, the sun shines a little brighter, and so do the people. We share a love for our region, a pride for JAX, and a passion for the beautiful game, dedicated to giving everyone a sporting chance. Together, we will elevate soccer and sport in our community by lifting every voice. We are Sporting Club Jacksonville. We are Sporting JAX.
Hello and welcome into the Sporting JAX Report. I'm Cole Pepper. Coming up, we take a closer look at the future of the USL and if promotion and relegation is finally coming to American soccer. Plus, a look at what the Sporting JAX Foundation is doing in the community and how the U.S. women's national team has performed in the SheBelieves Cup. But let's start with what could be a huge change in the way that soccer is structured in America. When the USL announced earlier this month their intentions to launch a first division league to rival Major League Soccer, there were a lot of questions. Many of them still remain, and as the USL Championship season is right around the corner, we thought this would be a good time to reset for soccer fans in Jacksonville and give a 30,000-foot view to the state of the game. So let's start with the way that pro soccer in the United States is currently structured. Here is the men's soccer pyramid in this country as it stands right now. As you can see, MLS right there at the top as the first division team, first division league, the only one in the United States currently. The USL Championship, the only second division league in the United States. That's the league that Sporting JAX is set to play in, at least at this time. The third division includes both USL League One as well as MLS Next Pro. That's where the Armada is playing in would like to play in. Right now, they're playing in the pre-professional fourth division with the NPSL. The league also includes the UPSL and the USL League Two, where Sporting JAX will field a team in concert with Florida Elite this May. As it stands right now, there is no opportunity for a team to earn a move up the pyramid, as there is in just about every other major soccer country in the world. So, the first question, as we bring in Mauricio Ruiz, why do we need promotion and relegation, and do we need it? Mao?
Oh, yes, we do need it, because as you can see here, I'm in my new home in the Porto Stadium, the Jargon Stadium. It's the way that soccer is around the world, and it's not to say just because they do it, we have to do it. But that's what the fans want. The fans want to see that excitement that a team does well. They deserve to stay up. If the team is not doing well, there's a threat of them going down. It makes it more competitive, makes the games more meaningful. And if you are in the second division or third division, it might be, if you do well, you should get the opportunity to move up. And right now, that doesn't happen in the U.S. MLS has done a great job of stabilizing soccer in this country. And it's always been the question, when can we arrive at promotion and relegation? And I think time is now, and it's great to see that the USL is starting to make inroads in that process. But as we talked about before, it's a long way from achieving it, but it's a good place to be that the conversation is actually happening now.
Yeah, a lot of questions still to be answered, as we've said, but there's no doubt that those will continue to be asked. Last week, following the USL announcement, USL President Paul McDonough appeared on CBS Golazzo's Morning Footy program to discuss the possibility of promotion and relegation. What he said certainly seems to lay the pathway for pro-rel in this country for the first time.
It's a hard concept to implement, right? We thought it was, one of those things that we could get going. And as we went through the process with the championship in League One and talking about splitting the championship in two, that was very difficult for us. And, going promotion from Division Two to Division Two was hard. So that led us to pushing for Division One. At the same time, we're talking about promotion relegation. Our most ambitious owners are talking about higher standards, bigger stadiums, all those things. So, it just naturally led us here. And as we go through, there's still a lot of work to do, right? Promotion relegation, in the traditional sense, the way it is in Europe is one way, but playoffs are very important. So how do we incorporate promotion relegation plus playoffs, right? Where the regular season has a lot of jeopardy, but then you still have the playoffs for the fans, that there's a champion at the end. So we're going to look at two kind of separate competitions. So we're just going through all of that now.
Paul, when I see this and I hear it, I get excited, right? Because this is as close as it gets to European world football. So because it feels like the supporters have always been about this. Hey, let's do it. We're ready. But how did you get buy-in from the owners? Because it feels like the financial implications are maybe something that many owners kind of shied away from.
Yeah, it's been a process, right, of going through the pros and cons of promotion relegation. I think with us announcing the intention of going Division I, that's kind of almost led everyone into a better mindset. Now we're still talking to all the owners. We just got done with 2 days of Board of Governor meetings with Championship and League One, and the response was pretty good. We still have some work to do to get over that hurdle, but I think the first thing for us, right, we got to get the Division I going, and then we'll implement promotion and relegation.
Well, there's a lot to unpack there, Mauricio. Sounds like there are still several avenues that the USL could take for promotion and relegation.
Well, certainly, and as he mentioned, the first avenue is getting that level one, that tier one league in place. And that's going to take a little bit of maneuvering in time because, as we know, not every single team in the USL Championship today would qualify for sanctioning of League One. And we know about sanctioning. The USL Super League was supposed to enter the women's landscape as a Division II, but because of sanctioning, because of requirements, it was given a tier one, a League One sanction. And that's what the USL on the men's side will be trying to do by elevating a lot of the clubs that are currently operating at the USL Championship level, which is sanctioned at League Two, at a tier two level. So how many of them, based on stadium sizes and based on metropolitan area, location, and quantity, will have the ability to be that tier one and effectively create a Premier League in the USL? That's a big obstacle, but that's obstacle number one.
Now, certainly much more work to be done on that topic, and we will be following it as things unfold. Now let's turn our attention to the Champions League, and that begins the first leg of the round of 16 coming up this week. 8 of the teams earned an automatic berth into the round of 16. 8 others had to win their way in. Let's start with the first group. Mauricio, who are you looking at as the favorites this year?
Well, I think the money has to go to Liverpool, right? Not only because of what they're doing in Champions League, but what they have continued to do throughout the season. But if there's to be a dark horse there somewhere, Cole, I mean, you got to pick someone like an Aston Villa, which have done really well in their Champions League kind of campaign. And they have Club Brugge, which is not a rollover, but it's also not one of the big dogs in some of the top 5 domestic leagues. So there's some questions there. But I think it's going to be a pretty fun, what will be a first or second knockout stage of the Champions League new format.
All right, how about as far as the teams that had to survive the knockout tournament? Who might make some noise here in the round of 16?
Yeah, surviving is a good question. I'll tell you that Real Madrid survived even the first phase, like the group phase, and they got into and played Manchester City and actually did really well against Manchester City. PSG is a team that survived the first phase, but then they got faced up against Brest, another French league team, and they did quite well. The team that I kind of watching a little bit are the Dutch teams. They've done really well between PSV and Feyenoord. Not two teams that you would expect out of Holland to be in this space right now. You would think of name of Ajax, which have done really well in Champions League, but PSV right now, even though they lost Arne Slot last year to Liverpool, they've done well, and to go in some of the places that they've gone to, I can see them as a bit of a dark horse, even though they're playing extremely well.
All right, Mauricio, thank you very much. The finals of the Champions League will be played in Munich at the end of May. Now to the SheBelieves Cup that wrapped up on Wednesday night with Japan upsetting the United States women's national team to win the cup. The U.S. fell behind early with Japan scoring in the 2nd minute, but Ali Sentner scored in the 10th minute to level things. This was a very close game. Each team had their share of possession, but the U.S. just had one more shot on target. Japan was more efficient. Toko Koga scored in the 50th minute in what proved to be the deciding goal. Japan wins the SheBelieves Cup 2-1. It was the first loss for the U.S. women's national team since Emma Hayes took over. But remember, the U.S. didn't have any of their 3 usual forwards, the triple espresso line of Trinity Rodman and Sophia Smith, both recovering from injuries. Mallory Swanson had personal commitments. Rose Lavelle, Naomi Gurman didn't play. So no need to panic here. The tournament certainly should give Emma Hayes a lot of information for the future. Sporting JAX also spent some time meeting folks at the Riverside Craft Beer Festival this past week. Under the Fuller Warren Bridge, there were plenty of options for fun, including more than 100 craft beers, a couple from our friends at Grace Note Brewing. Sporting JAX brought out the inflatable with the goals, a chance to shoot and win prizes. It was a great event put on by the Riverside Rotary Club to raise funds for their foundation and the Community Peds Care, a pediatric program of community hospice. We're already looking forward to next year's event. Also this week, Sporting JAX announcing a partnership with the ticketing app SeatGeek to be the official ticketing partner for both the Women's USL Super League team and the Men's USL Championship team. Starting this summer, soccer fans can buy and sell tickets for Sporting JAX matches at Hodges Stadium through SeatGeek. SeatGeek's the official ticketing partner for 20 USL clubs, as well as teams in MLS, the Premier League, NFL, NBA, and NHL. All right, it's time now for Mauricio's Corner, and with the USL Championship kicking off next weekend, we're previewing each conference, starting with the West. Mal, the defending champs, Colorado Springs, are there, the team to beat, I would think, but there are a lot of talented teams in the West. Who do you have your eye on?
Yeah, they do, and you're right. I mean, we got to start with Colorado Switchbacks. They won. They were not a team that was expecting to win, and then towards the end, I mean, they were fun to watch, Cole. They're one of the better teams, but that is pretty common in USL Championship to redo your roster. At least it's an average about 30 to 40% of your roster kind of gets redone. Colorado did a really good job of maintaining the majority of their roster. They re-signed a lot of players. They re-signed coaching staff. So you would expect them to do really well. A player to watch for Colorado Switchbacks is Akeem Ward. Probably actually the best fullback in the league. Has had a really good career so far. He's an attacking fullback, a lot of assists. And I actually would give, based on consistency of roster, I think Switchbacks are going to come back and try to make a run for it once again.
All right, good stuff. We'll be keeping an eye on what's going on with the West. We'll preview the Eastern Conference coming up next week. Mal, thanks a lot. More from you coming up a little bit later on in the show. Season tickets are now on sale for Sporting JAX USL Super League debut at Hodges Stadium. Here's the seating map. You'll notice that tickets start as low as $10 per match for students and go up to the premium seats and the field seats, which have been a hot priority. Go to sportingjax.com for more information. Still to come, Becky Burley joins us to begin our series sizing up each USL Super League team, what to expect from the Tampa Bay Sun as the season continues. That's next right here on the Sporting JAX Report. Every game every week in the USL Super League can be seen streaming live on Peacock. Let's hit some of the highlights from the past week in the USL Super League, starting first with Dallas Trinity and Spokane Zephyr. Early on in the game, 15th minute, Emma Jankinich getting it to Katie Murray for the goal, 1-0. Spokane with their first road victory of the season, getting it done at a very good Dallas team. Meanwhile, Tampa Bay hosting Brooklyn FC, the top team in the league. 42nd minute, Natasha Flint setting up Jade Moore with the goal. And Tampa Bay takes a 1-0 lead into halftime. Second half now, 58th minute. Mackenzie to Mackenzie. Mackenzie George gets it to Mackenzie Pluck. And Mackenzie Pluck blasted from just outside of the box. That would level the game, a 1-1 draw between Tampa Bay and Brooklyn. The other Florida team, Fort Lauderdale United, hosting Lexington SC, scoreless at halftime. Second half, it's Addie McCain getting it done, as she has so often for Fort Lauderdale. Slots it in to give United the 1-0 lead. Then 13 minutes later, they're at it again. And this time it's Ishada Hamid. She's also been delivering for Fort Lauderdale this year. Look at this shot. It goes in 2-0 Fort Lauderdale United with the clean sheet victory over Lexington SC. Game of the week, though, had to be Carolina Ascent and DC Power, already 1-1 at halftime. Second half got crazy. 53rd minute, Yuka Kurosaki with a shot from distance. That gives DC Power the 2-1 lead. Then 58th minute, this is a tremendous individual effort by Mia Corbin. Just steps right into it, a bad giveaway, and she makes them pay. Now we're level at 2. After an own goal in the 62nd minute, we forward to the 83rd. And watch what happens here. Gianna Gurley levels things 3-3, a 6-goal draw between Carolina and DC Power. So here's how the standings look in the USL Super League at this point. You see Brooklyn on top. Their 30-point lead, 30 points gives them a 5-point lead over Carolina after the Carolina draw. Fort Lauderdale United and Dallas Trinity would make the playoffs if the season ended today. It does not. Still have plenty of soccer to be played. Tampa Bay just hanging around right outside that top 4 at this point in the season. Today we're beginning a series taking a closer look at the USL Super League teams, one club at a time. And we're starting with what will be Jacksonville's closest rival, the Tampa Bay Sun. Becky Burley says Tampa Bay, like most teams in the USL Super League's inaugural season, have evolved from the kickoff in August.
And to be fair, like that first game, it was an exciting atmosphere. There were a lot of people there. I think they've continued to have great support. And I think they've continued to evolve their team. I mean, I think they're one of the teams who has made a lot of moves during the break. And at the halfway point, they've added some real firepower to their team, particularly on the attacking side. They've got 2 players from Arkansas who have had proven collegiate careers in Parker Goins, who scored in her first game, and Tankersley. They've also done a great job of bringing in a blend of some internationals. And although those internationals are gone right now for the international break, they are certainly going to make an impact in the second half of this season. You know, what's interesting is the season is long in the USL. In any pro league, the season is long. And that's a big difference from the college season, where it feels like there is truly a competitive season and truly a developmental season. You add those two together, and that's what the pro season is like. So I think adapting to just the length of the season, but more importantly, I think it's like a management style. It's very hard to demand and, get people to do things because you're the coach when you're a pro coach. I think it's more about how do you influence behavior? How do you help people see like the challenges and choices that they have to become the best team they can? And that takes a little getting used to, I think. And I think Denise has adapted very well to that, but that's still probably a work in progress for anybody who's making that transition.
What are your expectations in terms of how they can compete to make the postseason?
Well, speaking of important games, that tie they had with Brooklyn was really important, because to get a point out of the first place team when that's part of the, your stretch run to get in is huge. I'm sure that when they're looking at the point situation, as you start to play the math game, adding it up towards the end, you sort of pencil in like, okay, this is a good opportunity for points. This one might be a little more difficult. I think what they're looking at is like, okay, we've added this offensive firepower. We've done a pretty good job of staying compact and being a defensive team that can hold our own against anybody. But can we get over the line and actually score goals to get to the 3 points instead of just a tie?
Good stuff from Becky. Well, next week we'll take a look at the Fort Lauderdale United squad as we continue our look around the league. If you sign up for season tickets now for the USL Super League season, you'll receive a limited edition inaugural season scarf. Be a part of the first pro women's team in Jacksonville. Go to sportingjax.com for more. Still to come, our youth soccer spotlight. What the Sporting JAX Foundation is doing to uplift a community. That's straight ahead as the Sporting JAX report rolls on. In the coming months, Sporting JAX will be unveiling the inaugural kit, but you can already get official Sporting JAX merchandise. From shirts and hats to sweatshirts and scarves, head to sportingjax.com/shop or hit that QR code on your screen to get your official club gear today. Time now for the Youth Soccer Spotlight presented by the Bearded Pig Barbecue. And this week, we take you to Warrington Park in Arlington, where the Sporting JAX Foundation has been holding free soccer clinics for the past month. The final clinic is wrapping up today, and with help from UNF women's soccer players and JU men's soccer players, as well as Florida Elite staff, kids in the Jacksonville neighborhood who don't necessarily have easy access to the game are learning about soccer, developing some skills, and having a great time doing it.
So this is a community soccer team, and we came out here to play and have fun. And practice.
And you feel like you're getting better?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. What kind of skills are you working on?
Power shots.
Yeah, that's what you like?
He only likes one.
Yeah, you're with your friends having fun.
Yeah, breaking your friend's ankle sometimes. You know how to dribble.
The community, the parents, the kids have been great. I mean, obviously, We've attracted college players out to come and work with the kids, UNF, JU men. The kids have been fantastic. The nice thing about this whole principle of what we're trying to do with the urban city soccer is the kids all leave here with a smile on their face, and they're excited to come back.
I love coaching little kids. This is my passion, so it reminds me so much why I love this sport, and seeing the smiles on their faces even when they don't have as much, just doing what they love, having fun, being competitive, it just brings a smile to my face just to come out here.
The Sporting JAX Foundation was basically built to bring soccer in areas that just don't have it. We're in deep Arlington right now, and these kids really want to play soccer but don't really have a pitch or coaching or goals, and so that's what we brought out here, and that supports our mission to really grow the game in places where it's not available. The kids love it, absolutely love it, but what I think was the biggest thing for us is we wanted to make it walkable. We wanted the kids in this neighborhood to be able to just come here, and it has turned in really to a family affair. The wings that we're cooking today were brought by one of the families, but they walk up, they come, and they have a great time, and at the end of the session we eat and have some camaraderie, and it's really just a beautiful thing.
This is just the beginning of the plans for soccer outreach for the Sporting JAX Foundation. We expect some new announcements to come in the next couple of weeks. Be sure to join us every Tuesday night at 6 on 1010XL for the Sporting JAX Soccer Hour. That's on the AM side. You can also listen online or on demand at 1010XL.com. Still to come, with the Premier League off for the weekend, we look to the FA Cup that has already seen some stunning upsets. That's next as the Sporting JAX Report rolls on. A reminder, you can watch the Sporting JAX Report usually every Saturday at noon on NBC 12. That's most weeks immediately before Premier League soccer on NBC. We're a half hour later this week with no Premier League action on NBC. You can also find us on demand on First Coast News Plus and on the Sporting JAX YouTube channel. Well, no Premier League fixtures this weekend, Mauricio, but FA Cup play continues. There are matches all over the place, including looking at the action tomorrow. You've got Newcastle and Brighton, Man U, Fulham, Nottingham Forest and Ipswich. What jumps out at you?
Yeah, I love that Man U Fulham. I think there's two teams that have a lot to prove this year. They both came in with purpose. Obviously, we know the Man U is changing. I mean, they're the defending champions, and they struggled last year just alike. So capturing trophy and silverware is so important. But likely Newcastle and Brighton, those are two teams that have not had any silverware for a while, and there's a lot of money being invested on an FA Cup trophy, and both of those shelves will look really good.
One other game we should mention, just kicking off here in the last 15 minutes or so, Man City and Plymouth Argyle. Plymouth Argyle upsetting Liverpool in the last round, and here's what you get for the historic upset. You get to play Man City.
Yeah, and you don't want to take a Man City wounded right now, out of Champions League, effectively out of the Prem run, maybe potentially out of the Champions League positioning in the Premier League. So FA Cup, I mean, they're going to be given everything right now. Today's the day, and Plymouth Argyle, they have one last gasp to try to kind of get their name out there. But yeah, not a great reward after beating Liverpool. All right, Mauricio, thanks so much. My thanks to Becky Burley as well. To stay up to date on what's happening with Sporting JAX, make sure to follow us on our social channels. You see all the handles right there. And we'll be back next week with more on the Sporting JAX Report. Thanks, everybody.